Cameraman Jeff's bow is a wee bit out of time. So I thought it'd be the perfect opportunity to show you how to time a bow. Now, timing a bow on a lot of bows is very, very similar. There's not a lot of difference between them. So you don't necessarily have to have a bow specific how to time a bow. But what is timing might be a better question here. Timing is your cables hitting the draw stops in unison. If you do not do that on your bow, which there's lots of them that require this, you'll get a lot of up and down stuff when you shoot your bow. Because if you draw your bow back and hit the one stop but not the other one, you're going to end up hitting high or low depending on which one it's off. And then if you draw that same bow back again and pull it hard back into both where you're hitting both, you'll hit somewhere else completely. It's really, really finicky, and it's one of the reasons that single cam bows ever came out to begin with. Why did that happen? Well, because 20-something years ago, bowstrings were junk. Like absolute garbage. I had 2-cam bows back in that era, which everything today is basically a 2-cam bow, or almost everything today is basically a 2-cam bow, that when you would shoot them, you would shoot like for the day and then go back and time your bow again because your cables stretched because the materials were that bad. And then along came this company in the late 90s to early 2000s called Winner's Choice, the originator of a really high quality bowstring at scale, and made a much better product, and it kind of alleviated those things, which that was in early 2000s, and in late 90s are when single cams were created. And eventually it phased out to where people went back to things like this because things like this are more efficient, and that's why you don't hardly see single cams anymore. Although some people love the simplicity, they are really slow in comparison. So we're going to put this back in the draw board, and I will show you what an out of time bow looks like, what we adjust to fix it, and then what it looks like when it's in time. And then Jeff, you'll be happy because his bow won't shoot like ass. All right, so your draw stop is this little piece of metal off of your cam right here that comes to rest against the cable right here. And as you can see, those are touching. Well, if you bring your weight over here, these are not. So what that means is if you go to draw that bow back, when you hit that back wall, you should actually feel it kind of have this weird creep and a bit of a thump kind of feel. So what we're going to end up doing in this scenario, because of the way these are sitting, is we are going to put some twist in this cable right here and make it shorter, because what this really means, since these are same size cams, equal opposite eccentrics, the cable should be the same size, and they're not. The length is slightly different. So this cable is longer than this cable, so we need to adjust that accordingly. You do need a draw board to do this. You can do it with your fingers, but it's damn near impossible to get it perfect. So this is kind of a draw board tool requirement kind of thing. And then you got to have the right kind of draw board so it actually shows you what you're really doing with it, where some of the old ones really don't. We've got our press lined up, our fingers on the insets where they go. We're going to go ahead and tighten it up a little bit and get this a little loose. And we're going to have Jeff twist it. So we need to shorten the cable. So this is the one you're unhooking. If you take that string off and rotate it, you can see it.
Okay.
You're unhooking that. So grab here, pull it off, just straight back. Okay, now you're going to want to make this probably 2 twists shorter. So you're going to want to turn it clockwise if you're looking down it that way. Like other way, this way. Like not that piece.
Oh.
The whole thing. That's counterclockwise. Clockwise. 1, and then 2 again. Okay, then hook it back on there.
And we just got to check it.
So push that on until it pops over it, and then get it over that groove there. Bring it back. Watch your string in here. That in there.
Do you have to take this off to...
No, it's just easier.
Oh, okay.
It's just easier because you can rotate the wheel. If I don't unhook that, you won't be able to rotate the wheel. So you let the weight back off. And nothing blew up, so far no bomb. Okay, so went a little too far. Now this one's not touching, and this one is, just barely. So we're gonna take probably a half out of that one and try it again. Not quite. I gotta take another half. Still off. It's about half as close, so I should have just given it a whole twist. Both perfectly touching. And that is how you time a bow. Now you shouldn't get an up-down variance in paper anymore, because if these are out of time, you will see a knock point up or down when you shoot through paper. As long as it's square to begin with, of course. If you shoot, all right, so common actual reactions to your bow being out of time, or visuals that might make you aware your bow's out of time. One, when you shoot, your groups are all up and down, like a lot. And as you get fatigued, you start throwing an arrow one direction all the time. So like as you get fatigued, if you're out of time, when you're not fatigued, a lot of times you'll pull hard into the back wall and they'll both sit to the back far end and you'll shoot in the same spot. But as you start to fatigue, one of the stops will come off and it'll cause you to hit up and down differently. So that's a major indicator. If you shoot through paper and your knock point's off, like point down, point up, and it wasn't when you tuned it originally, that's probably a good indicator it's out of time. Your back wall will feel soft or spongy. So you pull it back and you go to pull into the back end and it feels like there's a lot of give in it. It's probably out of time. The orientation points on your cam or your cams, depending on which bow, might slightly indicate it, but usually not, because those are actually not perfect. A lot of times it's a variance in between the two to indicate that your bow is in time. So I wouldn't necessarily go off of those for that.
Does string stretch create a bow getting out of time?
100%. That's what it always is.
And it's not always that.
Yeah, always.
Gotcha.
Yeah, your bow, as long as your bow was in time before, the only reason your bow would be out of time is if your cable's stretched, one more than the other. So as you use these things, string, cable, right? The bow gets shot, right? Over and over and over. And they give a little bit. Even amazing products eventually give, no matter what you do. Which is why there's a lot of good aftermarket strings out there that are very expensive. It's because these things changing are 90% of your problem most of the time. Right? Everything else, once you get everything set, traditionally your sight doesn't move on its own. Traditionally the rest doesn't move on its own, right? These things don't change, but these do. And that's where timing issues or out of tune things come from. And it's literally from this thing stretching more than that thing over time, which happens. There's no way around it. In a perfect world, when they're the exact same length and they're the exact same materials, twisted at the same rate, they would stretch at the same rate and not come out of time. So you wouldn't really notice it as it gives. But that's a good indicator for when you get your bow perfectly tuned. You love everything about it. You measure your axle to axle and you measure your brace height and you write it down on your bow or in a tablet or something somewhere. And then you go through this side and draw a silver Sharpie line on either side of each cable, up here and up there. So if one of them shifts, it should look different than the other one. It's not going to be a perfect indicator of when your bow is perfectly in time, because you can have a twist or so variance in there and not see that difference. But when one of them's giving more than the other, you should be able to look at it at a glance and realize they don't look the same. And it's a great little telltale on, oh, my bow's out of time. Also, broadhead and field point impacts, up and down difference, can very commonly be your bow's out of time. Personally, I won't use the same string for more than a year, unless you never shoot the bow. If you're the kind of guy that pulls it out of the closet a week before season and shoots it a little bit, yeah, you probably don't need to change your strings every year. If you're the kind of guy who's going to shoot your bow on and off all year round, you should probably put new strings on it once a year. It's just my personal opinion. A lot of manufacturers will say 2 years, 3 years, 5 years. For what I do and the involvement that I have, I beat my strings up too much. Because the environment, you can have this string completely wear out, never shooting it.
Right.
The environment you take it into and how that environment reacts with the materials can itself erode it. And you gotta remember, just because you're not firing your bow doesn't mean there's not a shitload of load on this thing all the time. This limb is nothing right now. You go to pull it, it'll weigh 70 pounds, but sitting there static, it's 0. Well, it's not 0. There's like 250, 300 pounds of weight on that limb before you ever drop back. You just feel the cam over variation difference. Once a year, string change. My recommendation, do what you want.